Greetings. So I'm Jason Mace, I'm the CEO of Gala Technology, and this is our amazing product which is revolutionizing the payment industry at the moment, which is SOTpay. So I'll tell you a little bit of story of how we created and innovated this product, because it was out of necessity through our event industry company, manufacturing supplier of the largest manufacturing supplier of marquees and commercial gazebos in the UK, which is Gala Tent. Now, throughout the history of Gala Tent, we were suffering from, even as far back as 1999, when we set the business up supplying party organisers for the Millennium celebrations, we were exposed to fraud-related chargebacks. Now, if you're not familiar with fraud-related chargebacks, it's a transaction when the customer is not present and you can't identify them while they're over the phone. So they may be genuine, they may be not. How do you identify them? At the time, there was not a digital system in place where you could verify them over the telephone. It was just as simple as that. So if you delivered them to the high-risk transactions were obviously to a third-party delivery address, and if you delivered them to that third-party delivery address, you were exposed to what is a fraud-related chargeback, whereas the genuine cardholder, if it is a fraud, they will contact their bank and they will say, right, I didn't authorize this transaction, but I've been charged for it. It's on my bank statement. The bank then initiates a chargeback, so the business itself, they lose, the bank's taken out of the bank, but you've also lost the stock as well. And the letter that they send you, which is a chargeback letter, has a cost of around 25 quid, just to rub salt in the wound. So then you, in a panic as a business owner, because it's never 20 or 30 quid, a chargeback, it's always a good couple of grand, right? So in a panic, you then write to the bank and you produce the proof of delivery and the invoice, say, no, this is a valid transaction, and the bank writes back to you, and then they say, well, I'm sorry it isn't, because a genuine cardholder has signed a form here saying that they didn't authorize this transaction. And then they charge you another 25 quid for that letter. And if you keep responding, it's 25 quid every time, until you get to like £100, where they say, well, enough's enough. So you've lost the goods, they've taken money out of your bank, you've got all the labour costs, don't forget as well on this, and you've got the delivery costs and dealing with it, the administration costs on top of that, and you've had the expense of the letters and the administration from the bank as well. So it's a major problem, and a few sectors, especially the hospitality industry and event industry, are riddled with this kind of problem. So what do we do? So at the particular time in 2012, I had 4 staff in my boardroom checking IDs. So how were they doing that? So basically, we was asking the customer for identification. So that could be a passport, a driver's license, a utility bill, have you got a landline? We can ring the landline. We can look on Google Maps or Google Earth, and we can have a look at, try and do what we can with the available technology at the time to kind of get a picture of whether this is something to verify the identification, because there's no system that does it. No affordable system anyway. So you can imagine the customer journey, basically. So the customer journey, when they are, they're wanting to place an order and we're advertising next day delivery, and we're saying, well, can you, before we take your payment, can you send us a copy of your passport and your driver's license? Like, what? We were getting reviews at the time, ID mentalists, that was the thing, but there was no other way of verifying it. So not had we got this risk of the chargeback, we'd now got all this labour costs of trying to verify them while they're not present, and it got to a stage in kind of peak summer in 2012 where I got my IT manager in, Steve Biggs, so I've got a really good relationship with. We've worked together on projects since the early days. And I said to Steve, look, Steve, I've got this problem, you need to come back in here with a solution for me. So basically, cutting a long story short, we had an intense discovery meeting on how we would resolve this major pain that we'd got in the company. So 3 weeks later, Steve comes back into my office and he says, right, Jace, I think I've got something. I says, what is it? He says, call it secure order transfer. He says, right, secure order transfer. Let's have a look. So anyway, he fires it up. So it was a completely digital solution like nothing we'd ever seen. Nobody in the compliance industry had seen anything like this. Before this, don't forget, it was DTMF and it was IVR, which, yeah, it's compliant. So which means no data is going to enter your working environment with DTMF or IVR. However, you can still fraud it. If I've got a stolen credit card, I can still go out shopping on DTMF and IVR because it's a robot kind of, it's not verifying anything securely. So what Steve managed to do is we managed to develop a digital system now, a super smart link. It's not just a smart link, it's a super smart link. So the link went embedded with the technology to fire it up at the other end, where a text message or an email, as it was quite basic at the time, where the customer could then fire it up and enter the credit card details, right? So the customer then enters the credit card details on end of this smart link. It then fires all the information back digitally into our payment system, and the agent on the other end of the phone sees the journey and sees that it's paid, still talking to the customer. An absolute revelation, right? So straight away we put it in, we refined it within 6 months of usage, and straight away the team that I've got in the boardroom checking the IDs, that was gone. They went back to work. The company was super productive. We got no chargebacks to this present day, no fraud-related chargebacks. And we're now in 2024, so years on, we're still holding that record firm. And the company was allowed to grow as well with this system in place. It allowed for growth because we could concentrate on growing the company then and planning the way forward. We'd run this then for example, we'd got like a 12 months period there where we'd got, we'd turned what they call a moto transaction, which is a mail order, telephone order, moto, because in the payments industry, they're talking anagrams, which is pretty annoying. So a mail order, telephone order, you turned it into an e-com, which is an e-commerce transaction. So once we've got a run of kind of 12 months of no data coming into the working environment, I had a meeting with my bank manager, and I says, can we get a better deal on our acquiring fees now? The charges that the bank does, your credit card acquiring fees, they call them. So we get the statements out, and we're running through them. And he says, oh, well, it's quite a low-risk account, this, because you don't do any moto transactions. And says, it's 90+%, moto transactions. And he says, no, not according to this statement. So I showed him the SOTpay system, how we turn a moto transaction basically into an e-com transaction. And they were amazed. They'd not seen anything like it. So the bank rewards you as a business for being so secure. So if you can show the bank that you are low risk, then you will get low acquiring fees. It's basically as simple as that. So at that particular time, I think it was probably about 7 or 8 grand saving on the acquiring fees. But that weren't the biggest saving. So when we were doing the customer not present transactions, the moto transactions without the SOTpay technology, the banks, because it's a non-secure transaction, the banks will put what they call a non-secure fee on. Now these non-secure fees are as much as 0.5 to 0.8. We've seen them higher. Now that was about 30 grand a year saving as soon as we put it in. So the cost for putting SOTpay in and the development time that we put into it, that turned out to be an annual cost of about 37 grand, 37 to 40 grand, let's say, on an annual saving. And then the year after, we saved a little bit more. So a total saving, you could say, about 40 grand for the company, for just putting SOTpay in and doing a secure transaction. So absolute heaven. So we've got this digital technology that it saved all these labor costs. It verified the customer. ID verified them, so we knew that there was genuine when we was taking the payment to deliver the goods. We could get back to next day delivery. We'd got all the staff, productivity was up, payments up, production up, nice reviews, secure, no data coming into the working environment. PCI compliant, which I didn't have a bloody clue what it was at the time, but we was PCI compliant to probably the highest level. So it was absolutely fantastic. So with this technology and this solution that we developed at Gawler Tent, we entered the Security Innovation of the Year Awards 2014 because we'd got a bit of traction with it. We'd been using it for a while. We demoed it here, there, and everywhere, and everybody said it was super cool. So we entered the Security Innovation of the Awards, and we ended up winning the Security Innovation of the Year. Probably one of the highlights of my career. Fabulous. There is a video on YouTube there, but don't watch it because I've had too much wine and it's embarrassing. So on the way back on the train with a hangover, I rung my business partner. And I says, we'd won, we were talking about the award. I says, well, we need to develop this into a product to go to market now. Now, once you've got a product, you've developed it in-house, and luckily we had our own bespoke systems where we could develop this. Putting the product to market is like a different kettle of fish. So it's got, and especially if you're handling other people's payments, so we needed quite a big investment. So business partner turned around to me and said, don't forget, I've had no experience in fintech or the payment industry at this moment in time, though I would say I'm an expert now. So he says, how much is it going to cost? So I says, 20 grand. He says, oh yeah, that's no problem, we'll invest in that. So anyway, 3 years later, and about 380 grand over budget, we actually got a product to market. So late 2018, we got SOTpay available to other businesses where they could benefit from the technology. So from there to today, we have around 1,200 plus clients using SOTpay to secure their transactions. We have partnerships with real top flight companies like WorldPay, Elavon, Lloyds Bank. They love the technology that we've produced, and we're continually developing it. I mean, recently we've developed even a parking app for this particular product to do secure payments. We have developed it for hotels. So, I mean, myself, I went into a hotel the other day and I tried to check in at the desk, and since COVID, I don't carry a credit card around with me. I just carry the actual, I'll do a Steve Jobs here, the mobile phone. So that's all I carry on. So I tried to check in and went, oh, we can't do that. It's just got to be a physical card. But with SOTpay you can. So you can check in your hotel, and it'll put a card on file for the room for any expenses if you want to, in the fridge or in the bar, let's say, or it'll do a card on file as well. So little innovations that we've added to the technology, and there is an actual massive suite of products now that SOTpay does offer any businesses. A recent innovation that we're putting together now is the integration into the hotel PMSs. So we've currently got Oracle and Maestro's in the roadmap, and there's a few others that are coming on board with us now, because the hotels really suffer badly with, you know, just the journey of the customer when they're walking into the hotel, and then the payment system and the booking. You know, for example, hotels really suffer now because they can't do a booking over the telephone. So they're then advising their clients to go online and book. Once the customer's online there, then obviously, you know, we've got the phrase end shittification, right? And what that means is you get bombarded with ads from Google, and then these customers, they'll end up on a comparison site where they'll probably end up on booking.com. So if they end up on booking.com, and even if they end up booking the hotel that they've been asked to go online to book over the telephone, which they haven't, if that makes sense, the hotel then loses 17% of the margin because they've gone through booking.com, let's say. And the majority of the time, the customer may have found a better deal and booked somewhere else. So the hotel's lost the business. That's it. It's a sale gone, which they could have just done it over the telephone, offered that hotel service that you'd expect, book them in, job done. You can do that with SOTpay. It's as simple as that. Thank you very much.